And I got hope and I got faith, and I get a little bit more each day. Folks, just waiting for my co-host Rob Hutchinson to tune in. He's very busy with the medical regulations being gazetted, but the hope and faith I've got today is a court judgment in Northwest Province against the municipality of Zeerust for failing to seat an elected official for the Forum for Democrats. We'll talk about that. Rob is coming in with me now. Hopefully his mic is working today. We'll see how that goes, folks. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports here on the DearSA Africa channel. Rob Hutchinson, my co-host, is joining me now. And I'm waiting for the camera. There's the camera. He looks like he's in a different location. Rob looks like a prisoner in a cell somewhere. Rob, are you there? Rob? Can you hear me? Hello, Rob. I can see Rob, but I guess he can't hear me.
Here we go.
There you go. Okay, something. Okay. Hello, McFly. Yikes, Rob. Well, I didn't realize it's been like a month since we did this last. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Busy time.
It's way too long. It is. That's why it's been that.
And not just is way too long, but some really big news we need to talk about here. But before we get to that, let me just very quickly welcome you back. It's great to see you again, and I'm glad to see you're in fine health. And I'm sorry for whatever prison you're confined into there, but it looks very different than your studio.
Yes. Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on behind me, but a whole lot of changes in the background, so I'd rather hide them.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Messy.
But you and I have talked about this briefly. We're actually probably talked about it more than briefly. Back in the November election, municipal elections in Zeerust, there's a new party that stood up and they ran and challenged the election, ran for office, and they didn't get any seats until election analyst Michael Akins had gone through the data and noticed that there was an anomaly in which the EFF was awarded 191 seats when they only got 19. Or votes, 191 votes when they only got 19 votes. So he appealed to the IEC. They blew him off and ignored him. So he contacted the party, and then I had interviewed him about election anomalies, and he happened to mention it. So went offline. Long story short, I contacted a law firm through a contact, a very well-placed contact, by the way, and got a law firm and a civic organization involved, and they approached the IEC after having been blown off, the elections analyst. Then they blew off the party itself because they're nobody. They don't have any money, so they blew them off. And come to find out, when a lawyer reaches out and says, "Hello, you should look at this," the IEC responded immediately. And then within a few weeks, they went and said, "This is correct. There was an error, and that seat should not have been allocated to the EFF. It belongs to this party, and we'll contact the municipality and tell them to seat them." Well, it's been 5 months, and that Forum for Democrats member of the council is still not seated. However, today, Rob, a judgment was handed down in the matter in Northwest Province, the matter between the Forum for Democrats and the Freedom Advocacy Network. That's the civic group that helped us with this. And the speaker of the municipality, plus the municipal manager, the Electoral Commission of South Africa, and the Economic Freedom Fighters. And the judgment says that you must seat this gentleman as a member of the council. Now, sadly, the people who voted for him lost 5 months of representation. And this is, I think, unconscionable. I don't give you a chance if you want to comment or any thoughts on that, and then we'll start talking about these, basically the state of disaster that's going away, but it's simply just being turned into policy that's going to extend it into perpetuity. Anyway, go ahead. So any thoughts on that election piece?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely amazing news. And that just shows you that the pressure that civil society can actually place on government and on the courts is actually effective. And well done to Freedom Advocacy Network, fan as they like. Well, what's their symbol? It's a little badger. I think
it's a badger, yeah, like a honey badger.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think it's Talon Bezuidenhout, if I'm correct there. He's one of the guys behind it. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely well done. Well done to them. Look, I think it's despicable that this kind of situation had to happen in the first place. But it's understandable that situations like this do happen. I'm sure it happens everywhere. I'm sure there's absolute. If we had to go through an audit of every municipal region and every election result, I'm sure we'd pick up quite a few more anomalies. And I don't know if that's a good thing, really, because isn't the IEC supposed to be sort of on top of these things and free and fair elections? It brings all of that into question, doesn't it? So perhaps that's why they took so long in addressing the matter and why they actually ignored it at the end of the day. But well done to the courts and well done to them for doing this. Let's let's just see and hope that newly elected official does live up to the hype now, because there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes on the individual. So good luck there. Good luck there. Let's live up to the judgment, or hope he does live up to the judgment.
Well, more importantly, let's live up to the will of the voters who voted for that party and got them based on. Now, of course, for folks outside South Africa, this is based on proportional representation. The candidate did not win outright a post on the council, but a number of seats are allocated based on a percentage of votes. And in the second round of proportional representation, this party outperformed the EFF and should have gotten a seat. So, yeah, so got to live up to the will of the voters and also live up to the direction of the court. And kudos to the court for stepping in. This came to their attention on the 10th of March. It was delayed to give respondents a chance to respond, and it finally happened on the 25th or thereabouts is when they finally that was a deadline, and now they rendered a judgment. So after getting the deadline, but a couple comments from me on this. First off, my issue with the IEC is that people make mistakes. We're human. So the problem I have is when a independent elections analyst contacted them. I realize they're busy tabulating results, dealing with, all sorts of things, and especially in this election where results were all over the place in so many places where the ANC and DA lost so many votes and it made things confusing in the Western Cape and other places. I accept that. But to simply blow someone off and disregard them when they bring it to the attention, at least there should have been a pro forma response saying, we've received this from you. We will take a look at it when we have an opportunity. But not even that. They ignored him. And he's been elections analyst for a dozen years or so, and he's done this independently. And his methodology has proven to be rock solid. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that when he informed the party, and then the party contacted the IEC's response was, well, you waited too long. You missed the 48-hour window. Well, excuse me, IEC, you also missed the 48-hour window because you didn't even announce the results until like 96 hours after the election. So how can you target a party on a very much a statistical sort of anomaly in which people wouldn't have realized unless they had access to vote counting, which is not what observers get. They don't get to sit there and count the votes. That's done by the IEC. So the IEC's error is compounded by their arrogance and dismissive. And it took an attorney before they started paying attention. So my issue is the IEC's arrogance, not its error. People make errors, they're human. It's arrogance, it's dismissive of a party because it's not the ANC, the IFP, the DA, the EFF, parties that have lots of money and resources that can give them a hard time. They just dismiss it. And this subverts the will of the people. The whole thing about democratic action is that people can rise up peacefully, politically, for their own interest. And if you subvert that by cutting off new parties or small parties at the knees because they're non-consequential in your mind, then you subvert the will of the people. The other issue I have with this is the fact that the municipality has not instated and sworn in this councillor. It's been 5 months. That's 5 months of a 5-year term that now have not been served by someone else. And who knows what action that EFF count. Now, this person might vote the same way, but that's not really germane. But who knows what action they took. And I think that's ridiculous. Now, I will say this. Hats off to Michael Atkins. Nobody would have ever known about this miscarriage if it had been for Michael Atkins. He did a brilliant job. Thank him so much, and I appreciate him. He came on my channel. We talked about it. Also telling me who the people involved were so I could do it discreetly. And also hats off to the Freedom Advocacy Network, and also, without disclosing who they are, the advocates whom I reached out to, one who directed me to an advocate who got me in touch with these folks. And I must say, hats off to independent journalism. Had I not, now this is going to sound arrogant, and but it's not. It's a fact. If I had not pursued this and made a big stink about it and reached out because of my contacts and my knowledge of South Africa with the right people, they would still not be, and they would never get that seat, even though they won that seat. Now, how wrong would that have been? By the way, this isn't the only case. There are several others in South Africa, but no one has stood up for those cases, and I'm not aware of which ones. I might reach out to Michael Atkins and start taking the same approach for the other ones.
I think it's absolutely well done, Chris, for actually bringing this or making a big fuss about it that people can actually take up and take notice. What you have to look at and bring into question is this how independent candidates are going to be treated as well?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole new...
Oh, absolutely. It's how they're going to be treated because they don't have a party apparatus or a team of lawyers behind them.
Exactly. So this is something we should actually be making a much bigger noise about, really, and the media should be picking this up as well. There's the recent amendment or proposed amendment to the Electoral Act, which allows independent candidates to run on a national level. They're going to be facing exactly the same problem in future. There's no doubt, and the IEC needs to, quite frankly, wake up to this fact. And treat everybody the same, whether they're from a party or whether they're independents, whether they're individuals or whether they represent a bigger party. I think this is quite a big wake-up call, larger than what we think it is. Really, it has far-reaching ramifications. Yeah. Well done, Chris.
Well, thanks a lot, Rob. I do appreciate it. If I do crow for myself, but I mean, honestly, nobody was taking this up. I mean, Michael Atkins did the right thing. He did what he could. Here's people asking why I'm so invested in South Africa. It's because it's a wonderful place, and the right thing needs to happen. And fortunately, because of the contacts I built over the past couple of years, I was able to reach out to the right people and get directed in the correct direction and bring people together. And I actually facilitated the first meeting between the attorney, FAN, and the party itself. I hosted that Zoom session to get that going. So, when people talk about interference in foreign elections, yeah, damn Skippy, there is some interference in foreign elections. That's right. Americans sticking their nose in other people's election business.
Again.
How's
right. It worked out for you before?
Well, not so well in Iraq and Israel, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, the difference here is it's post-elections, not pre-elections.
That's right. No, the other difference too is it's righting a wrong and it's not the state.
Correct. Yeah. Yes, well done.
Anyway, so very quickly, let me address something in the chat. Allison Johnson is a devoted viewer. She's a lovely lady. Says, hi to the Wyatt family. I'm so relieved my mom is home from hospital. Allison, either it slipped past me that your mom was in the hospital, or it's my apologies for forgetting or not recognize that. Unfortunately, it's her kidneys, so I know it's respite and not a cure for every day, but every day counts. Well, every day is a blessing, Allison. The life is a challenge and it's a struggle. And if people don't believe that, look at all the bacteria, the viruses, the fungi that are trying to get into us and kill us every day. Never mind the ANC trying to take things away from us, but nature itself does. But I'm glad to hear your mother's home. That's good news, and thanks a lot. And then Kevin Nicklin says, we have a new police commissioner in South Africa, has more badges than a war hero. Well, look, maybe he has more than me, but he'd have to try hard. I have 23 individual ribbons, and some of them with 9 times awarded. I'm just saying. So he's going to have to try really hard to be that Polish war hero to beat me.
Good luck with that. I've got a grand total of 0 ribbons. So.
And there is nothing wrong with that. So Rob, let's shift very quickly here about something that's critically important, and this is important. Everyone listening, if you haven't done this, I urge you. I've already urged people to go out and flood the government's website, wherever they're doing this, because the South African government, of course, Cyril Ramaphosa tipped his hat. He said, "Oh, we're going to move away from the state of emergency, and we're going to gazette regulations that will that basically." So the bottom line is this. Let me translate this in English for the listening audience. The African National Congress, under immense pressure, under their failed policies to stop this pandemic because they're clueless and witless, and when you toss the bones with the Sangoma, you don't always get the right result. So rather than listen to science, so after 2 years, now into the 3rd year of an unconstitutional, immoral, invalid National Coronavirus Command Council dictate ruling the country without legislative authority, because they can't go beyond 90 days, and they've done that. But anyway, after 2 years of that, they realize the pressure is too much and the economy can't continue. They can't keep borrowing money from foreign donors to carry them through. So they've decided that they got to do something, but they're still going to keep their regulations. And the way they get around this is they're going to end the state of disaster on April 5th, but they have a transition period, which is allowed for under the Emergency Powers Act, or whatever it's called, the declaration. It gives them 30 days for a transition period in which everything will remain in place. At the end of 30 days, it will magically go away. Except, Rob, it won't go away, because now they're putting it into the law by gazetting it, and they're going to put it for the president's signature. They've given the public a whopping 48 hours to respond and feedback. Now, of course, we know how that goes. When they asked for feedback on cigarette ban at the beginning of this, they had so many responses against it. And like 2,400 people said, yeah, ban the cigarettes. Probably all illicit cigarette traders. But Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma went ahead with the ban anyway. So I don't think that the public engaging, unless it's a tsunami of just hitting them hard, is going to change things. Now, DearSA, your organization is in this fight as well. There's other groups out here I've come across that are trying to get stuff out. Now, here's the thing I need your help on, Rob. I've urged my listeners to call their member of parliament, call their MEC, call the local whatever the government is, the council, inundate, flood their lines, go knock on their doors in the next 48 hours, be there, pester them, make your voice be heard, carry signs. If they don't talk to you, stand outside, legally assemble, do whatever you have to do to make sure that your message is out there. In addition to that, if they've got a government website where you're supposed to respond to this, respond, flood. Allison Johnson just become a member. I owe her a salute very quickly for that. Well, Rob gave you a salute too. That's cool. Thank you, Allison. Allison just became a team member. Thank you, Allison. Gosh, that's very kind of you, especially with the news of your mom. But so Rob, I urge my followers, my viewers, my followers. Oh, see Kyle. No, my viewers to gotta be careful there with that word. My viewers to go inundate the government in this 48-hour period. Now, DearSA is collecting information. I saw earlier you had 98,000 responses already, and I think that's in less than 24 hours. Let me go look and see what the responses are now, because it's been a few hours since I looked.
But it's still the same.
Why, is the server crashed?
Yes, several times.
I was going to say, yeah, that I couldn't get to it the first time. I tried to get to it last night. Anyway, so Rob, help me out here. This is the answer to the question here. Was my advice good, or is it not good to go to your government officials, not harass them, but get their attention, slam the government servers, tie up their telephone lines, do all that? But there's also this other mechanism for civic organizations like DearSA. If I misled my viewers, or are both approaches something people should do?
Absolutely. I think as many approaches as possible is the right way. Flood them on all the channels, exactly as you say, Chris. Get the voice of the public out there, get the anger out there, and vent your anger through the channels that are offered, and even through the channels that aren't normally available. I think giving your local representative a shout over the telephone is an absolutely brilliant idea. Flood their lines, keep them busy. Make sure that they represent you and represent your voice like they are supposed to. It's absolutely the way to go. We have provided a fantastic little easy-to-use voice there and platform on our website, and have many other groups. And it's brilliant to see civil society actually working together now and collaborating on such an important issue. There is some confusion, though, I just have to say, Chris.
Yeah.
Between the 48-hour call for comment and the shift of the regulations to the Health Act. The minister did put it out, that you only put it out for 48 hours, as you have said. But that is more of an administrative action. What it's doing is that she has to put it out there. She really doesn't have to call for public comment at all on regulations. It's actually not in law. But I think she's done it deliberately just to create this public, I'm going to call it public angst, because it has certainly created a bit of a stir. But what she has to do is put it out there and announce that the regulations are now being withdrawn from the Disaster Management Act. And that is what the 48-hour period is. But the most important part here is the shift from the Disaster Management Act towards the Health Act. The regulations are just being shifted from a temporary piece of legislation into a permanent piece of legislation, and that is where people should be commenting on. And we aren't really we are interested and we are concerned about the comment period for the 48 hours, but the most important place where people should comment on is the adoption of the temporary regulations to be permanent under the Health Act, and for that, we have until the 15th of April to comment on, as per the normal comment period. So I think there's been a deliberate bit of misinformation going out in the media, and it obviously stemmed from government, that it's important for people to comment on the removal of the regulations, which is quite confusing, because how do you comment? What do you say? No, we don't want the regulations moved from under the Disaster Management Act, but we do want them moved, but we don't want them moved under the Health Act. So where do we comment? What do we say? It is rather confusing, but nonetheless, it's created a considerable stir in the public. As you pointed out there, we've had an unbelievable response in such a short time, and it's continuing to go. Our servers have absolutely been on fire today. We've been standing there with fire extinguishers trying to put things out. And it's really been
we should get Paulie in here. He's a firefighter in Gauteng. He can go put your servers out.
Yeah. No, it's been, I don't think we've ever seen such a response in such a short time. It's quite mind-blowing. Even with the land expropriation, which was one of our biggest campaigns, the first call for comment on amending Section 25, we sent through 250,000 comments through to government on that. That was over a period of, say, 2.5 months. This, to have over 100,000 in such a short time, it's unprecedented. And it just, again, shows the willingness of the public to get involved and try and make a dent in in this legislation. It also shows the sheer frustration and anger that the public have over this. No matter who you are, no matter which side of the fence you stand on, you got to be thinking to yourself, what's really going on now? Why do they want to make this permanent?
Well, because it's a power grab. That's exactly what it is. And that's how I amended our answer the question session today with the lead in ANC power grab. That's exactly what it is. They want permanent control, which is what the conspiracy theorists have been saying all along with the whole thing with the Rona pandemic. And, I hate to confirm conspiracy. It's kind of like, now, people don't take this the wrong way because I don't mean it, but tongue in cheek, when I say that, the racists who were in the National Party, which wasn't the entire National Party, but the racists who were in the party who wanted separate development, apartheid, and wanted the spoils kept for one group, many of them made the point that majority rule would fail, that majority rule would never work. Now, their argument was because the majority population wasn't capable of governing. My argument is that that's not true. I mean, black Africans can govern legitimately if they have such a desire. But they were right when they warned us that the ANC was not the answer. That's pretty scary. Now, I hate to confirm that, but that seems like, that's kind of a perverted confirmation. But very quickly, Rob, I put in the chat here for folks, I put down the link to the government server, which has all the information for local government. And you can also find it for your province there as well, and your national representative who sits in parliament and collects their big check and their blue light escorts. You can find all of that. But that's the local government, which is your first point to just drive them bat crap crazy. And also for Jason Venta, I've put in a link to Mohali City, which of course is on the northwest side of Joburg. I've put the link in there with contact information for your city. You're going to have to do a little bit of hunting around there, look for the right official, and just hit them all. Send it to all the councilors. I don't care what party they're in. Just send them something. Call them. Drive them nuts. I mean, they're probably not going to answer the phone. So just saturate the lines, and then send them emails and drive them bat crap crazy. And we also saw here, I think it was Ruth said, ward counselors, she means ward counselor. It says ward counselor, but I think she means ward counselor. Yeah, get your ward counselors, get all the officials, do it. Okay, so I'm not doing fake news. I'm not false reporting. I reported what she said was a 48-hour window, and based on what you said, and my supposition even before I got your feedback on this was that this is intentional because she has no intention of listening to what the public has to say unless she's just completely buried under this because she's arrogant and doesn't care. It's just window dressing on her part, and that's why the 48-hour window, which is ludicrous. By the way, that 48-hour window is now down to 11 hours, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 11 hours left. So it's apropos and timely that you are on the program today so we talk about this. But if I understand you correctly, the response to the regulations actually goes for another, 15 days, something like that? What'd you say was the date?
Yeah, the 15th of April.
Okay,
15th of April.
Okay, 15th April. Yeah, but still, go hit them now. And guess what? If you called your counselor in Mohali City today, Jason, and they responded, call them tomorrow. Call them the next day. Call them on the weekend. Drive them crazy. You know why? The truckers rally, the people's rally, the people's convoy in Hagerstown gets it right. They say this every time. You got to let the representatives know that they work for you. Now, I know they're confused because they're not elected by you. They're elected by a party list, which is chosen by these political parties, but they work for you. Don't let them forget that. And the 230 cowards in the African National Congress who virtue signaled yesterday going, no, double, super no to the DA's lies, when they refused to unseat this corrupt, inept, useless cabinet because it was an open ballot. So they wanted to make sure Lutuli House, hey, look, I'm all in. I voted no. It was double dare no. Make sure I get the next seat, If it had been a secret ballot, I guarantee 40 ANC members of parliament would have voted to remove this cabinet. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. You know why? Because 20 of them want those council seats or those cabinet seats.
That's absolutely very good point. Absolutely good point. And you kind of wonder why it wasn't a secret vote. And I think it's for that exact reason. Nobody's going to stand up and defy the party because they know they'll be ushered out very quickly. Yep. Their seats are just as attractive to lower ranking officials as the cabinet seats are to them. So I think you hit the nail right on the head there. That's exactly what it is, Chris.
Well, and it is sad. And it's also a conflict of interest. The speaker, I can never pronounce her name unless I look at the damn thing. It always throws me off. She's got a really tough name to say, but if I look at it, I can get it. No se vive mapisa nkola. She has a conflict of interest. She owes her position to Cyril Ramaphosa and the party. If they didn't select her, she wouldn't be in that position. She was fired as a defense minister. They moved her over here. So when she says that there's no need for a secret ballot, that's a clear conflict of interest. And she shouldn't be the person that makes that determination. It should be a secret ballot. And this is what you get.
On that.
We saw with a secret ballot before, enough ANC, when the ANC had 249 seats in parliament, Jacob Zuma came within 4 votes of being unseated, 197 votes against him. Now, the DA only had 89 votes then. Now they got 84, but they had 89 votes, and they managed to get 197 people to vote to remove Jacob Zuma from office in 2016, 2017? Yeah, 2017. Yeah. So a secret ballot works, and that's what the people of South Africa were entitled to. They were owed. This virtuous thing, I don't know if you watch it, Rob. You're probably busy, but I watched it, and it was nauseating. No to the DA lies. And then Brett Herron gets up there. You know, I tried to interview him last year, and I'm so glad I didn't interview him. What a hack. I knew he's a hack, but he just gets him. Well, it's the height of hypocrisy. The Democratic Alliance, which brings this motion, has sex offenders and has corrupt, and they have all these privileges in the Western Cape. Excuse me, Brett. The motion before you now has nothing to do with the Western Cape government. If you want to complain about it, the provincial legislator is down the street, and the city council is down the street. Go over there and have your voice be heard. Don't sit here and betray a party that you were once part of, and your feelings are hurt because you didn't get a special position, and you followed like a lapdog Patricia DeLille as she founded yet another party because she was unhappy with the party that she was in. This guy is just such a fraud. There were actually a couple people who spoke really well for the Democratic Alliance and others yesterday, very articulately and very accurately said what's going on, that this cabinet, these ANC members taking offense. I take offense. These are unproven allegations. I'm sorry. Is Zweli Mkhize still the Minister of Health? Hasn't he been removed? But no charges, and he still sits in Parliament collecting a salary. I was there. I watched him vote. Yep. He didn't turn the camera on. They had to remind him to turn the camera on. Make sure he wasn't an imposter.
Exactly. I think he is, though. I think he's an absolute imposter. But that astounds me. There are clear allegations against him, and they are clearly correct. And the whole digital vibe scandal has sort of been swept under the carpet, conveniently. And then Zweli Mkhize is still launching an internal campaign to hopefully one day be president of the ANC. Good luck with that. That'll be absolutely fantastic. And on the Brett Herron thing, there's nothing more irritating than a politician who has a chip on his shoulder and a grudge to pick with his previous party. It's ridiculous. Get on with the job of governing and fixing this country rather than picking petty fights which are going to bring nothing to anybody. It's a joke. And it does nothing for your party and does nothing for yourself either. And in fact, why is he placing a target on his back? He's just going to be ignored by his voters and picked out of the crowd. Ridiculous. But anyway, that's politics for you. And that's especially South African politics. It seems to be everybody against themselves, fighting against each other, 400 seats, throwing things at each other. And
like monkeys in a cage throwing their feces.
I can't say monkeys, but anyway.
I can.
You can, yes.
This broadcast is not covered by the Films and Publications Board of South Africa.
Very good, very good. It does not have to undergo any sort of censorship or
registration or pre-approval before publication. Get stuffed, foot sec.
That's brilliant. Well done, Chris. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And when they start fighting against each other and performing like absolute kindergarten children, who suffers at the end of the day? The public, the voters, the people who they are supposed to be representing. Come on, guys, grow up. Really grow up.
No, I mean, honestly, listening to these well, I'm not on. I was on the radio last night, so I have to watch my potty mouth because the Federal Communications Commission can give you a fine. But these jackasses, I can say that here. It's not for children. These jackasses listening to their nonsense in Parliament, their double nose and all this stupid stuff, and leaning into the microphone. No, it's this is a party and a cabinet that was exposed yet again yesterday in the news. 15 infants and toddlers have starved to death in Nelson Mandela Bay from malnutrition. There are tens of thousands of kids suffering from acute malnutrition in Nelson Mandela Bay alone. Now, what's especially egregious about this, because for those who know me, you might say, wait a second, Chris, now you're a hypocrite because what are you talking about, government intervention? How can you complain? Well, I'm not talking about government intervention. that I advocate. I'm talking about when there is government intervention there and it fails. And this is the case. The social department responsible for dispersing the funds to get food and resources to the people who are poor in Nelson Mandela failed to spend 67 million rand and turned it back to the national government. And children starved to death. And these people sit in parliament and say there's nothing wrong with this cabinet. These people are not politicians. They are vultures feeding off the carcass of a dying nation.
They absolutely are. And it makes me mad. I think the biggest problem is their sheer incompetence. They can have all the resources, all the budget, absolutely everything in place, and they still wouldn't be able to get it out and roll out effective programs that suit the needs of the people. And we've seen that everywhere, absolutely in absolutely everything. The failing state entities, the failing economy. The resources are there. The solutions are there. And they come up with wonderful plans, but they have absolutely zero ability to roll out the plans. And that doesn't just stop at the governmental level. Speaking from experience in my time in politics, I can see that even at a party level, they have wonderful ideas, grandiose plans that are absolutely brilliant on paper, but no ability or know-how to actually implement these things. And then what is the point in that? We can always make promises like politicians do. We're going to sort this out. Don't worry, we'll get to you. We've got the budget here put aside. But they have no clue how to. So how do we solve that problem? I think that's a major question that should be going out there. What happened to the skills within government? We all know the
they're in private sector, or they're in France or Japan or UK. That's where it's at.
Or somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's a major
and by
problem.
the way, that's white, brown, black, Indian. That's everything. All people have been pushed out, but especially Afrikaans-speaking white South Africans, but not exclusively. They push people out to bring incompetent people in as part of a patronage scheme. And that's what gets lost in people. Whenever someone like myself says, well, people have been pushed out of government, the assumption is I'm talking about just white Afrikaners. No, I'm talking about qualified people are pushed out because they bring in their unqualified friends as a patronage mechanism, give them a salary, and then they do nothing. I saw this very clearly, Rob. In 2000, I was in OR Tambo, and I had been in Zimbabwe, but they were murdering farm workers and farmers at the time. And so I traveled around while this was occurring. It was rather surreal, the summer of, fall, winter for you guys, of August of 2000. Yeah. So I'm traveling around while all these murders are going on. And it didn't affect me any. I stayed off of commercial farms, but I did go past places where I saw things forming. But I was unable to get to Harare because there was a shortage of fuel. They hadn't paid the Kuwaitis for the pipeline coming up from Beira in Mozambique. So the Kuwaitis said, nope, no more fuel. They just turned it off. So there was no petrol. And I had a bakkie with 168 liters with the auxiliary tank in it. And we topped off in Kasane, my colleague and I. And then we had 4 20-liter jerry cans in the back, which didn't have good seals on them. So we had a bit of spillage. But anyway, so bouncing around in the bush, you get a little bit of spillage. Anyway, we went from there all the way down to Vic Falls to Masvingo, Great Zimbabwe, and we were supposed to go to Harare, but because there was no fuel, I'd turn around and go back. We got to Francistown when we left. We went to Matopos and saw Cecil Rhodes' site and walked around there. Anyway, so we got back to Francistown in Botswana. When I topped off, it took 163 liters to fill up the tank in auxiliary. I had 5 liters of fuel left. Anyway,
wow.
But so
well
well, whew is this, But the bottom line with that was that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that because now I had extra time. I had several days that were available to me that were supposed to be in Harare, and I'm, my trip is booked, so I got to figure out what to do. Well, I'd never been to Namibia. I'd done a lot of research in Namibia. I always wanted to go to Namibia. So I got back to the airport after I flew back from Botswana to Joburg, and I went to the South African Airways desk. There was a white Afrikaans-speaking woman working there. She was answering the phones and trying to do stuff. And there were 4 black employees that were there, and they're filing their nails, and they were talking to each other, and they were ignoring me. I was at the counter. They just ignored me. Ticket counter. This is a place where you sell tickets to make money. They didn't care. They didn't care. So the woman on the phone was busy. She looked over at them. She kind of said, and you got this a response when she was trying to beckon to come over to help me. So after several minutes, she finally finished the phone call. She came over and helped me book my ticket. And I could see she was quite angry because clearly she was supposed to be training them to work her out of a job. And the next time I went back, there were no white folks at that counter anymore. Months later, it was just the folks who blew me off. Now, that's not a statement against black South Africans, and anybody infers that's an idiot. That's not my statement. My statement was that those people that were hired weren't hired for their acumen, their drive, their honesty, their industriousness. They were hired because their skin pigmentation and it was a patronage thing. And they knew that they had a job whether they did something or not. And that's how they reacted. And that's reprehensible, but that's the reality. And that's across the government.
It is. And that is the major problem in South Africa. With such a fragile economy, we should be ditching race-based ideas, and especially race-based employment. And this whole quota system that's now been introduced, it's absolutely ridiculous. Really, we should be employing the best person for the job, no matter what they are, no matter what gender they are, no matter what color their skin, and building a strong economy. And nobody's going to disagree with that. I promise you now. No, nobody will. It's only the political and the politically connected and those with a deep agenda to create division in society that will promote these ideas. They don't benefit anybody. They certainly don't. And all they do is lower the standards as we go. What you should be doing is raising the bar instead of lowering it. But race-based policies cannot do that. It's really a shocking idea. And if they really want to improve or the previously disadvantaged, then focus on educating them, create the skills that are needed, don't just place people for the sake of their skin.
Rob,
really.
Here's the Kool-Aid. You can drink my Kool-Aid. That's the Kool-Aid I'm serving. I have been harping on education for 3 decades, and that's the bottom line. Instead of fixing education, last year, Cyril Ramaphosa said that, Bantu education was worse than no education at all. And my response to that is, I agree. ANC Bantu education for 28 years has been worse than no education at all. Educational standards have declined to such a precipitously low level that people who can't even add or read and write in their first language, let alone English, are graduating and going to university. What kind of nonsense is that? It's ridiculous. And it's no wonder that we have idiots attending university going, fees must fall, as if universities magically run out of pixie dust. The lights just come on because the bills are paid from the sky, and the teachers' salaries or professors are just paid out, and the research labs. It's just, it's just stupid. But, education is the key. And 2 things on the education. I'll go back to that same trip in 2000 when I was in Namibia and in South Africa. I went to Cape Town after I got back from Namibia, and I went to Stellenbosch. It was lovely. And I've been there in the region before, but it was the first time I got into Stellenbosch. And I found a little knick-knack shop there called the Trollip, which is German. It caught my attention. And then it just 1 block off the center with the big grass pitches in the center of Stellenbosch. So I walked in, and it was a little knick-knack shop selling souvenirs and such. And so I bought a few things. And I said to the lady, I asked her in German, I said, können Sie Deutsch? And she said, ja, aber natürlich. I'm like, oh, wow. I said, can you speak German? She said, of course. I said, well, I'm surprised. I didn't realize. She goes, oh, no, my grandfather was Röntgen, the guy with the X-ray. Wow. Who developed the X-ray, Röntgen, that's the units they measure, was her grandfather. And anyway, so, but German ancestors who came to South Africa, and she, of course, becomes an Afrikaans speaker, grows up speaking Afrikaans and German. And she'd been a teacher in the Western Cape. And shortly after the new dispensation in 94, she was pushed out. She was a qualified teacher. She was teaching mostly colored students, but some black students and white students. And she was pushed out and no longer had a job. And so her only option was to start a business. So she started. And that's just one example. And then at the same time, I go to KZN and I go out to Rorkersdrift and Isandlwana. And then I'm driving all around Zululand. And I come across school kids. And these school kids, I know what's happening to them. It's very common, especially in KZN, but not exclusively there. It's a very common thing in much of Southern Africa, that girls get their grades by having sex with their teachers. Yeah. And that's usually not voluntary. The girls aren't volunteering to do it. But we have HIV spread. We have damage physically to young bodies. And we have unwanted pregnancies for 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. And this is what goes on. Now, what was especially distressing about this is that at that time in KZN, 75% of the male teachers were HIV positive. And this is what they were doing.
Wow.
This is destroying lives before they even started. And that's what the ANC is comfortable having, teaching kids rather than qualified teachers. And, it's like the whole Brockenfell thing. This Brockenfell, the captured South African Human Rights Commission just said that there was no racism on the part of Brockenfell High School. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was quite an interesting judgment, actually.
Day late, dollar short.
Yeah, and there wasn't also the clicks judgment. The advertising wasn't racist, and it wasn't so on. So, why did the EFF just go ahead and cause such a civil unrest and burn down click stores and cause absolute damage.
I think the phrase you're searching for, Rob, is domestic terrorism.
That's exactly it. And it's, I think we are tired of it. I was going to say I'm tired of it, but I think we are, is the better approach there. The South Africans are sick and tired of this race baiting, constant race baiting, and absolute willingness by these political parties and players to create distraction and unrest. Why are they doing it? To remain relevant? Really, come on. Show us what you can do to fix the country, not destroy it. And I think parties that are following that kind of line, namely the EFF, their time is limited. Yeah. You can only put up that kind of a front for so long before people realize what you're really up to. So, yeah, enough of the games, and the EFF will judge you by at the next elections, and I think it's going to show for them. Unless, of course, they've got something else up their sleeve, which wouldn't surprise me. There's always something that petty socialists can come up with. I borrowed that phrase from someone else, from Gareth Cliff.
I haven't seen Gareth in a few weeks. I've been busy, and he comes on. Well, now it's midnight for me. It was 11 p.m., so it was doable, but now midnight's a bit of a stretch. So, but yeah, and he
showing your age there.
He said, "Well, no, I mean, I'm up frequently till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning doing work, but I mean, sometimes I need to take a break from that." So, no, I mean, well, it's it's the life of an independent journalist. It's an unpaid independent journalist is a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely.
trying to I identify as a lampshade. I'm not transgender, but I am a lampshade because I shine light on the world.
Do you have an on-off switch as well, or is it a string?
No. It's you clap and it turned me off.
Okay, clap.
So if anyone ever does this in a live stream,
that's it.
I just drop off. I nod off. Yeah. No, but I agree with you 100%. People are tired of it. It's just, and I've always said, and I've yet to be proven wrong. And if I am proven wrong, I'll reassess the data because that means the truth will have changed. But I've always said the EFF's cap is 15% of the electorate. That's it. They'll never get more than 15%. Ain't going to happen. Just ain't going to happen. Now, I'm not saying isn't. I'm saying ain't going to happen. There aren't that many stupid people in South Africa. There are a lot of stupid people in America. I mean, look who the president is. But there's a lot of stupid people in South Africa. But there aren't that many stupid people in South Africa who fall for this race hustling and this nonsense. I mean, let's be honest. The EFF voted with the DA on the motion to unseat the cabinet yesterday, not because they have problems with the cabinet, but because they don't want the ANC there. And that's the only reason. That's they don't care about the competence of the cabinet. They'd be perfectly happy if they were the party in charge and their ministers were just as incompetent. They would be happy with it. So it's not about that.
Not at all.
Whereas the Freedom Front Plus and UDM, Bantu Holomisa, he laid it on hard. Sometimes I get a little nervous. I mean, I trust Bantu Holomisa as an honest, patriotic South African. Sometimes he says a few things make me a little bit nervous. He did that a few months ago, and I kind of shook my head. But he's back on the right track of calling out the ANC's fraud, and that's what he did yesterday. It was just brilliant. I think he's underappreciated, and he's lost some of his influence as time has gone by, as other parties like the ANC have eaten into his base in the Eastern Cape. But Bantu Holomisa is still, I think, an interesting character in South African politics.
Absolutely is. There's quite a few interesting characters still in place. Even the ACDP, Dr. Kenneth Mutha, he's also fantastic. And doesn't get enough airtime, but I don't think.
Well, I'll give him the airtime, but I couldn't get him during the election. He was busy.
Oh, really?
I got some ACDP folks on, but I didn't get him on. I would like to have gotten him on, so I'll try to reach out to him again.
Absolutely. See, it's those individuals, Chris, that aren't scared to stand up, and those are the seasoned politicians who've been in this game for quite some time. They've got nothing to prove and nothing to lose, and that's the kind of politician I want to see in Parliament and standing up to the ridiculous little trouble causes that were read. But we need more of that. We definitely need some brave individuals, but they need to be constructive in their approach as well, and not like the Brett Herons there who just shout for no reason, but they need to be constructive and intelligent in their arguments and point out the rubbish that's going on. I don't think we have that caliber of politician, really. It's definitely the Bantu Holomisas, and let's not forget old Terra Lakota. He's great at saying what needs to be said.
But I haven't heard squat from Terra in ages. I know that's an old friend of yours there.
Yeah, no, he seems to have gone undercover, which is quite sad. He had quite a good support from all spectrum, all sides of the spectrum. Yeah, but he has gone very quiet. Maybe it's age again. Don't
Could
know.
be, could be.
But
But I
yeah,
mean, Tara's one of those former ANC guys that I don't just vomit when I see, so that's good news.
exactly.
No. I mean, look, he left the ANC. I think for good reason. Look, I'm not a Thabo
did.
Mbeki fan, but the Polokwane massacre, as I call it, was
Yeah,
was
exactly.
wrong. That was wrong. Anyway, for those who don't know, Thabo Mbeki was unseated as president of the African National Congress at a party conference in Petersburg, or Polokwane as it's called these days, and I call it the Polokwane massacre because it just proved that South Africa's political system is not what people think it is. Because this is the irony: Thabo Mbeki is removed as president of the party, and so he resigns as president of South Africa. Excuse me, you're president of South Africa. I don't care if you're president of the ANC. That's anyway. But of course he did that to avoid, a vote no confidence in Parliament, because it would be angry and remove him and put another ANC guy there. But anyway, it's just this is all crazy. Look, I've got to say one thing about this vote though yesterday that's distressing for me. Well, not distressing, but annoying, I guess I should say. And I had reservations. I interviewed the deputy actually the leader of the IFP, Vusi, or I can't remember, I can pronounce his name, it's difficult, but I interviewed him in the build-up to the election. Bantu Holomisa was not available. He was dealing with the Zulu secession crisis, and then got corona for like the 35th time. But the guy just takes a lick and he keeps on ticking. It's like 92 and he's still coming back. Anyway, but Mangosuthu Buthelezi wasn't available, so I couldn't get him, but because of that. But I did talk to the guy who's the leader of the party now, who's been his deputy for a long time and now runs the party. And I got to say that I'm very disappointed in the Kind of Freedom Party. I had high hopes. This is a party that owes nothing to the African National Congress. If anything, it should have enmity and hatred towards the African National Congress, because it's become basically a non-factor in politics, in large measure to the ascension of Jacob Zuma to the head of the ANC and pulling support away from IFP towards the ANC, which had never been there before. So if anything, the IFP should be angry with the ANC. But in this election, after the election was over, what happened in Durban and eThekwini made me a little bit nervous, because the IFP seemed all too comfortable cozying up to let the ANC run that city. And that's disturbing, after they publicly said they were going to support another coalition. So that gave me pause. And now the IFP votes and says, well, we trust that the president will pick the right cabinet. Really? Beckett Cele, the gangster in chief, and Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the woman drummed out of Addis Ababa, who was shipped off to there because she was so unpopular in the ANC, and then they sent her back because nobody wanted her in the African Union. I could just go through the whole list of idiots. Zwelin Kizi, a criminal. He's no longer there now. So now Joe you trust Cyril Ramaphosa's judgment, IFP? Please, that's a mealy-mouthed answer. I'm very disappointed. Now, it would have had no change, because they only have 14 members of the National Assembly. So 14 more votes would not have changed the outcome. But this is very disappointing. This was a chance to be on the side of the Angels, and the IFP chose not to be on the side of the Angels. And I'm disappointed in them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to wonder what actually goes on behind the scenes in those circles, and because how they can change from one belief system to another, and one conviction to another, is astounding. It really is. Or are they really that blind that they can't see what's really going on, and or that poor judge of character that they don't know? I don't know. I don't believe that, because maybe it's just my eyes and my circle of friends' eyes, but we all see to each other that Cyril Ramaphosa is not the person that everybody thinks he is. He's a very weak leader, incredibly weak leader, and an incredibly poor decision maker, which is reflected in the way that he will talk differently to one crowd than he will to another crowd. He likes to please people, doesn't like to rock the boat, and that's really not the kind of person that you need in a position of power, especially when selecting members of cabinet and in ministers and so on. You need somebody who really knows what he's doing. He's got to be a strategic player as well. Put the right people there, and the right people, the most competent people as well. If you look at Jacob Zuma, I think he was an expert strategic or strategist.
He was definitely a good strategist. I mean, that's he was head of MK intelligence, and he knows where the bodies are buried.
Very good. Yeah. And the way he shuffled the cabinet around to also obviously to suit his own needs, but it shows you what the president can do and the influence that he can have in political decision making if he has the will to do so. So why isn't Ramaphosa doing the same thing? Why isn't he placing competent people in the correct positions when he most certainly has the power to do so? It raises far too many questions in my mind. It's totally up to him. He has the power to place those people. They can get recommended to him. He has a choice, a selection to choose from, but at the end of the day, he makes that decision.
Well, my thesis on that, Rob, since 2017 has always been is he doesn't have that power because the radical economic transformation faction is knife edge. If it wasn't for 36 people who voted at that party conference in 2017, and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma would have been the president of the ANC and the president of South Africa. So I've always argued, but what I've seen this calendar year is a move to, and it started last year with the sidelining of Ace Magashule. And now I've seen it with a number of other things happening in the ANC, trying to push people aside. I think you got to run here shortly, but trying to push people aside. So maybe he'll become in a stronger position sometime soon. But I think he's been weak. Number one, he's a poor leader, yes. But two, he just didn't have. If he took a step, he might find himself facing a vote no confidence by his party, who might be willing to get rid of him if they can muster the votes in the radical economic transformation. But because I know you have to go shortly, one thing really bothers me about all this stuff in the politics on that side of the Atlantic and on this side of the Atlantic is that people's cognitive dissonance. Let me give an example. During those hearings yesterday, I was commenting in the parliamentary live stream, and a guy who's clearly a supporter of the DA came out, and he was saying things that were accurate, and I was agreeing and adding things to it. And then he said something, and other people, some guy was attacking, just a troll, and so we were responding to that, and tearing apart his arguments to trolls, but they weren't really arguments, just his statements. And the guy from the DA said something about, the DA is the only major party that grew. And I'm like, stop. Okay, excuse me. Okay, stop. Listen, I appreciate you support the DA, but I'm not going to sit here and dance fanciful. The DA lost 37% of its votes. It had a more horrific electoral result than the ANC. It went from 4,004,000 votes in 2016 to 2.5 million. They lost 37% of the votes. They lost control of many municipalities in Western Cape. And his response is, well, they control this. They've got housing. No, in a coalition. In the Western Cape, they controlled municipalities outright. Almost every municipality in Western Cape was outright controlled by the DA in 2016. And they had Nelson Mandela Bay. They got 45% of Nelson Mandela Bay in 2016. They got 39% this time around. That's disgraceful. A city where sewage flows openly in the streets and they couldn't win 50% of the vote when they had 45% just a few years ago. So what bothers me is that people are just political wonks and they're political operatives and they'll just spew BS left and right. The bottom line is this. The DA screwed up. Well, there's reasons for it. My assessment, part of it is they're arrogant. They didn't listen to people, including me. But the DA screwed up. They lost massive support. They're fortunate to be in control of places, and they should be humble and suck down some humble pie. And they need to start promoting these young, dynamic leaders like Chris Pappas and others like that so that people see another face of the DA, not just Don Steenhuisen and Natasha Mazzone, and every now and then when you drag her out, Helen Zille. My point here is that people need to be honest in politics. The DA has failed at times in Cape Town, but it has governed it better than anyone else. Fair statement. But don't sit there and go, they're the best ever, they've done this. And by the same token, the same thing with all these people just have this cognitive dissonance because this is what I say. They're intellectually dishonest. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans or DA or IFP or ANC, they're intellectually dishonest and people suffer. Admit your mistakes, admit your shortcomings, be honest about it, and accentuate and focus on the things you do well. And I think that's the answer. Unfortunately, we have a world full of politicians that don't have that moral fortitude.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And I think maybe it's even more than that, Chris. There's a problem in South African politics, and it's reflected at both
Is your dog trying to get out?
Yeah, as always.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. It's a problem reflected in South African politics. Sorry.
Yeah, problem reflected in South African politics, local and on a national level. And that is that my dog wants to jump on the chair. And that is that that's how I lost my train of thought. No, the problem is that people don't understand politics 100%. And the ANC is so horrifically bad at what they do and their governing and so on, that the notion is that anybody is better than the ANC, and that's shocking. That's terrible. That's what led to election result in the good old US of A, anybody but Trump. And look how that turned out. If you want the same thing to happen here, then adopt the same attitude here. Anybody but the ANC. Then really, no, you can't do that. You got to judge people by their performance, judge parties by their performance, but most importantly, individuals. And that's what's sadly lacking in most of these parties. As you correctly pointed out, the DA need to push more faces forward rather than the usual three. And that's a big problem in SA politics. And all the parties are guilty of that as well. I reckon they should maybe rotate the seats. When they sit in parliament, they always sit in the same seats. How about putting some of the back runners up at the front, giving them a chance to speak every now and then? Show us how your party works as a party rather than an individual works within the party. Because we're voting for the party at the end of the day. Therefore, it's going to perform pretty well.
Exactly right, because you didn't vote for the individual. I think you should get to vote for the individual, but you don't get to. So if you vote for party, then the party owes us what the party's all about and what the party's doing, and get people out there to show faces so people know who these people are. So they link them with a party, whether it's COPE or the IFP or whatever it is, so that they recognize that face with the party and they see that this is more than there's more than one face of the party. Absolutely. Now here's a question real quick for us. Kevin Nicklin, who's been very kind, he's done some animations for me, gratis, very generous to him. Thank you, Kevin. And recently made the intro video for Fireside with the Colonels with Vian Tutoy and I. And he also made one for Kanako, which is pretty cool. So we have an opening. He's asked me, now this is the first of my, regular shows that we created was Answer the Question. The other two came later, but Kevin asked if we would like him to make an intro video for Answer the Question and any particular theme that you gents would like. Well, yes, Kevin, I'd love for you to make one. I really appreciate that. And once again, you don't have to answer this question, but I'm even willing to send you a little scratch your way, but he does it gratis. It's very kind of him. I appreciate it. It's his way of contributing to the channel. But maybe we need to think about it a little bit, Rob, but I'm sure you would agree. It'd be nice to have an intro video for our program.
That'd be great. Thanks for the offer, Kevin. Let's definitely do it. Make it a good one. Make Chris look terrible and make me look better.
Now, Rob, that's going to be a challenge because I'm just dead sexy, brother. How can you make me look bad? Straight on the profile, from the top. Look at that. Oh man, yeah.
Oh, you see, I can't do that.
That's why I did it.
I was in a meeting at the office the other day, and there was downlights in there, and I looked at myself. I was like, okay, you can count exactly how many downlights there are above me. Remind me not to sit in a room with downlighting.
That's funny. Well, Kevin, yeah, please do it. Rob, if you can think of some things and send me a note. And Kevin, let me think a little bit too. It was easier with the Fireside for the Colonels because, you kind of take this, burning embers of a fire and go from there, and military marching because we're both in the military and that sort of thing. And then with Kanako, the Call of Africa, it was lots of Africa stuff, which is pretty cool. But to answer the question, I think we have to think a little bit harder for that. So yeah, let's do that. And there was something else I want. Oh yeah. So Rob, I want to get back very quick because, like I said, I know you got to go. I'm not trying to rush you out here. I keep you for the normal time, but I know you've got other things going on today. There's something that confuses me, and I missed this. Let me see if I can find what it's at. One of these sites, which one is it? Come on, which one is it? One of these sites, and I'm not finding it now. Come on. Oh, come on. Okay, this is about the gazetting. One of them is saying, and now I can't find, of course. Or no, it's not. It's MoneyWeb. It's being reported by the press. This is from MoneyWeb, the South African financial site. It says, outrage over government plans to replace state of disaster with COVID health regulations, which is what we were talking about. Now, Karen Ryan that's an Irish person, obviously, writes this. And in this it goes down here. Karen Ryan goes down. It says, a sampling of proposed regulations. This is the one that got my attention when I read this. All people entering South Africa may be placed under mandatory quarantine for a period of time determined by the department. Those entering South Africa who want to self-quarantine must apply in writing 72 hours before the intended date of entry to the Director General of, like they're going to respond in 72 hours when you got a flight. Where permission is refused, the person will be assigned to a state-identified quarantine facility. Now, before you answer that, if that's in the law, they can quarantine anybody on arrival that they want to for any reason they want. They're not even talking about COVID. They go, oh, well, we think you have TB, which could be BS, and stick you in a quarantine facility at your expense. This violates international norms. I don't know if it violates any international treaty obligations, but I suspect it violates the Vienna Conventions, which are tied to diplomatic status and other things. But that's very disconcerting. This, if that in fact is in these regulations, is buried somewhere, which most people aren't aware of. That one thing there alone should send chills down, if it's true, down the spine of every South African who works in the hospitality industry, in the restaurant industry, in the tourism industry, in the hotelier industry, every single thing out there that does with people traveling. This will destroy any future travel. I mean, what's going to happen when the Sevens World Cup comes? I plan to go to Cape Town in September, but now what, am I quarantined for 2 weeks when I arrive? The damn tournament's only 3 days long.
Exactly. And, that's exactly what I was saying earlier on, is that these regulations have been just shifted from a temporary regulation into the permanent. And what they've done, Chris, is they've taken all the regulations, even the ones that were cast aside and challenged by several,
and brought them back in.
They've brought them all back in. And that was one of the regulations that I think it was AfriForum that actually challenged that one with the, I was going to call them concentration camps, but the quarantine camps. And that was set aside and government retracted those. Then all of a sudden it snuck back into the regulations about 2 months ago when the changes were made there. And our group and AfriForum and another group also wrote a letter to the minister and she retracted them. Now we see they're back in. And it's exactly that, Chris. It's they can declare anything to be a pandemic at any time, whether it's a bad flu season, whether it's even a mild flu season. They can declare a pandemic in a local region or a disaster in a local region, and then use these permanent regulations to enforce that. And it's completely open to the minister's discretion, or the Minister of Health in this case. And that is extremely, extremely dangerous. And if people think there's a sinister agenda behind it, well, you'd be thinking correctly. There's most definitely a sinister. It's control of movement. And we all know where the reasons behind that. Localize your economic hubs, create proper economic, and prevent people from traveling between provinces and so on. Contain the economy, much like China has done.
Yeah, funny the parallel there, the similarity to the Chi-Coms in Beijing.
Exactly.
But, and people are trying to do this crap. That's what the whole thing with the bogus digital passport, I mean, since 1938, we've taken the international vaccination certificate to be evidence of vaccines, and it works. Yeah. Now you have to, so are toddlers going to carry, iPhones? Are we going to give toddlers iPhones? It's just ludicrous. But then I see even more sinister than this. That it will be at the discretion. Look, I've seen DearSA officials abuse their authority at border crossings by harassing people coming to and from Botswana, to and from Swaziland at the border. And, I saw someone pulled aside at a border post and they're almost arrested. They were taken to detention. And I heard the argument, what's going on? Well, you've been in the country for 5 years. No, I haven't. I just came for this weekend. No. See here, your passport says the last time you entered was 5 years ago. Yeah, but I came on Friday. You didn't stamp my passport. It's not my fault. And then they're made an undesirable immigrant because they've overstayed their visa in South Africa. What a bunch of nonsense. And you can't get that stuff removed. It takes an act of God or a minister to get that stuff removed. It is that sort of thing is what will be applied here. Petty bureaucrats will have the power, extra legal authority to imprison you and endanger your health by sending you somewhere at your expense just because you looked at them wrong, they don't like your appearance, they're ass burned because their wife or girlfriend or boyfriend didn't do what they wanted this weekend. This cannot stand. South Africans, you must get out there and voice your views. Call these people every single day through this period. And I'm not saying harass them, but hey, they work for you. So they should answer the phone and answer the email.
Spot on. And whatever Chris said, ditto. It's exactly correct. This is an opportunity for South Africans to really create a major fuss about these ridiculous regulations. And from what I've seen over the past 2 days, South Africans are. And those who aren't, well, all you're doing by not having your say and by not getting involved or speaking your voice, it's a tacit agreement. You're saying, yeah, okay, go ahead. Nothing we can do. Go ahead and do it. You're endorsing it.
You're complicit.
Yeah, you are. So if you want it, keep quiet. If you don't, say so.
Yep.
That's
Well,
pretty much it.
We get the government that we allow ourselves to have. That's the bottom line. Now, Kevin says that I told everyone that if they join, Rob will do a Will Smith move live on channel on Chris. I think that'll attract subscribers.
There we go.
What? Totally staged, totally fake. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
You know, I didn't. Oh yeah, that's what Emery says. Remember that we're called the Wise Owls, so you might want to put some owls on there and some smart stuff
Nice.
for the video. Because he's asking about that. Yeah, but now I lost my train of thought.
See what happens.
Well, senior moments, they crop up now and then. But Rob, you've obviously you're going to be very busy the next couple of weeks with you're always busy, but especially the next couple of weeks with hopefully responses to this. I will do my utmost to continue urging people because I get a transient population that watches my live streams now. I would say that about a third of the audience catches me now and then and comes in, and I get people every 2 weeks that haven't been in there in 2 weeks. So I'll continue to raise this theme and bring it up and direct people to the DearSA website. So if your service crashes, it's not my fault, but I'm trying.
We upgrade them. We're busy upgrading them now, so hopefully they won't crash in future. Yeah, it's been a certainly an eye opener as to the limitations of technology. It really has. But
well, I mean, so just on that line, a lot of people, because they saw the censorship and harassment, and then of course the pervasive shadow banning that goes on this channel, which makes the audiences all the more shocking and stunning. This many people show up and this many people watch my stuff, but people are always like, well, do what Germ did. Just start your own channel. Put your own server up. I don't think you realize that you have to have industrial security because people break into it and undermine your site. You have to have a massive data capability to receive information, process it on multiple computers. You have to have there's so many things you have to have. You have to have administrators that can maintain. It's 24 hours a day. I mean, I'm a one-man operation. I can't put up just my little PC here, turn it on, let it run 24 hours, and then that's my website, and it just doesn't work. Now, and if you're a site that takes donations to raise funds for campaigns, that's a whole separate bale of wax, and of course, there's got regulations and laws that govern all that stuff. So, this is why YouTube has, there's lots of competitors, but none of them are genuine competitors. They're not real competitors to YouTube. That's why it has a monopoly, essentially, on what it does, because it's mastered for its own needs, not for content creators, but for its own needs. It's mastered a platform that makes it appealing. So so you guys obviously are running into that. You probably knew this ahead of time, that you have to have surge capacity when something big happens. If like for instance, if I had my own server and then Brockenfell happened on the 20th of October and I had 7,000 people tune in for my live stream that day and I never had more than 500, it would have crashed my computer, and it would just. When you do that, like for right now, for instance, I'm not mad at DearSA, but I'm kind of getting torqued off that every time I refresh the page, it still says 98,747 comments, which means that the thing is not getting updated. I want to see that thing tick up. But my point is, if the page wouldn't load, I just give up eventually and say. I just give up eventually and go elsewhere, and that's what happens, and that's why YouTube has got this monopoly anyway. So for people out there always urging, but that doesn't mean that I'm not coming up on another platform, my own sort of thing. Eventually, at some point, there have been a number of people that have talked about backing something, but anyway, that's a secret. We'll keep it there and under my hat for now because I don't trust that any of these people will come through. So I don't want to say something that's not going to happen. Got a super chat from Mr. B saying 140 rands. Thanks for the great show. Thank you for that, Mr. B. Appreciate it. Rob, I know you got stuff to do, so what do we need to talk about before we wrap up? Anything that's on your agenda, or have I covered most of what we need to talk about?
I think you covered most of it, Chris. I think it's actually been a great show and pretty relevant to what's going on now. The biggest thing, obviously, is this shifting of the regulations to the Health Act, but there's a couple of other concerning things that are going on. But let's get to them next week. I think they'll definitely be still around there. This Health Act and amendments is on everyone's mind now, and I think everyone's parking on our server there. So we need to clear the parking bay now and get people through and drive the traffic out.
Absolutely. I was looking earlier at, and one of the things is, the expropriation, people think it's gone. It's not gone. They're trying to bring it in as law, not simply a constitutional amendment. Of course, it won't stand as law because the Constitution already explicitly says it has to be compensation. So they'll pass a law. It'll be used and then it'll be overturned eventually unless the courts are corrupt. But I mean, that'll be a whole lengthy process. So they're not giving up this expropriation thing. So it's people need to be cognizant of that too. If you go to the government's website for Parliament, right at the top, there's a measure being introduced for expropriation, and I think people have fallen asleep because the constitutional amendment was pushed aside because the EFF wouldn't support it. Imagine if the EFF supported, how frightening that would have been.
Oh, it'd be absolutely crazy. There's that constitution, which is now the expropriation bill, and there's also the NHI, and the two go hand in hand. My firm belief is that government simply doesn't have the resources, the knowledge, or the inclination to launch a national health insurance. Therefore, they will expropriate private healthcare, private hospitals, and private medical aids. So expropriation will come first, and then followed by the introduction of the NHI.
Yeah. Well, they're coming up with new ways. So yesterday I announced that the government intends to tax taxes. They want to put surcharges on taxes. So on your income tax, you're going to be taxed on the tax you pay. This is just absolute insanity. That's crazy. That's where they're at. But there's a question in the chat here. Does Rob have a channel? Rob, I'm not aware that you have a YouTube channel.
No, I mean, I can't. I'm not capable of coming up with content every day. So no, certainly not. Once in a while, I appear like on somebody else's channel. But nothing there. Follow me on Twitter. I tend to enjoy Twitter and throw out some. I like to push buttons, put it that way, on Twitter. Well, I see Twitter as an entertainment channel. So.
Oh yeah, well for me it's that, and also a breaking news channel, because somebody somewhere they'll record something, they'll throw it up there, and then you can at least find out something's happening. And it may not be the most reliable, but at least you get breaking news there. I intentionally didn't do this, Rob, but if you want me to do it, I'll do it. Well, first of all, I'll put your Twitter up there. I didn't think about that, so I'll put it in the description so people can find your Twitter account. So that'll be in there. In future, I'll always do that. But I intentionally didn't put up a DearSA link, because this was our program and it wasn't a DearSA thing. I didn't want people to think that this was an extension of DearSA. But if you'd like, I'll put a link to DearSA's channel, particularly now while this is going on, if that's okay. But I didn't do it intentionally before.
No, it's fine. That's fine. I think it's DearSA is a non-partisan platform. Let's keep it that way. And then obviously we're individuals. We can speak in whatever tone we want, and say what we need to. That's the guarantees of freedom of expression and freedom of speech, is it not? But I'm happy with the way we are. I think we're good.
Once again, this broadcast is not governed by the Films and Publications Board of South Africa. We are not required to file a license and a permit. We are not required to submit our content for approval by feckless bureaucrats who cannot possibly look at hundreds of thousands of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all these other social platform videos each and every day. So this is what I have to say to the Films and Publications Board of South Africa.
And batteries not included.
Batteries not included. That's great. That's great. All right, Rob. Okay, maybe we'll get back to weekly schedule next week. I'm not sure. My tax season's going on now, so I'm working my taxes, but we'll plan on doing it next week unless something comes up. Thanks. It's a pleasure once again to have you back on. And as I tell my viewers, I love having Rob on, because this is the calm and quiet Chris when Rob's on. It's not the Chris that goes on Big Daddy Liberty. It's not the Chris who occasionally does rants on his own channel. It's just the calm, collected Chris. And Rob has a nice way of having me chill out.
Yeah, it's the foot massages, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, is that what's going on? Sorry. So I didn't get the Will Smith smack, but I did get the foot massage.
The foot massage. There we go.
That sounds interesting. All right.
Okay.
Cool beans. All right. Well, I'm sure that your dog.
Always good to be on.
It is a pleasure. I'm sure your dog wants to get outside or wants to jump up in your lap. So let's let that happen. I'll let you drop off. Rob Hutchinson, DearSA. Folks, please go to DearSA's website. DearSA, is it .co.za?
Yeah. Okay. Or go straight to DearSA.org. It'll take you right there.
DearSA.org. Yeah, I know that was because it's a nonprofit, so some of them do that. Okay, check it out, folks. And then don't forget, pick up the phone, send those emails, look up your local government, and just inundate them. Because I'm going to tell you what, if that becomes the norm, you should be terrified. You as a South African, you go to the UK, somebody doesn't like something you said or did there in the ruling government, you come back to OR Tambo. Excuse me, sir. Come here. Mr. Steenhuisen, come here. We're concerned that you contracted the boo virus when you were in Scotland this week. You're going into quarantine for 3 weeks. What?
There you go.
No recourse because it's the law. Hey, folks, apartheid was the law. It wasn't illegal to do what they did under apartheid. It was the law.
There you go.
It wasn't moral, but it was legal. Anyway. All right, Rob. Thanks a lot.
Excellent, Chris. We'll catch you next time.
All right. I'll put Rob in the
Cheerio.
waiting room, and then I'll finish up the stream. So let me put him there. Okay. All right, folks, that's Rob Hutchinson from DearSA. And talk about an apropos time to be talking about DearSA. Now is the time. Folks, DearSA and these other groups, I'm going to give you some links to a few different places. And maybe, I don't know if you can voice your opinion on all of these, but SA Public Speaks is one of the sites. So let me give you the link to that right now. SA Public Speaks. So this is one of the places. Now, their server's been inundated as well. So you want to try it repeatedly. And what I suggest is if you write a response and it's a web-based thing, type it up in a Word document or in a text file and then save it. Then copy and paste that on a website into a response in case it doesn't respond. There's nothing more frustrating than pouring your heart out, complaining about something, hitting the button, and then the page doesn't return. Type it in a Word document, type it in a text file, something like that. Then you check your spelling too. Whether you write in English, Afrikaans, or Zulu, you can check your spelling. And then copy that text, paste it into the website, and send it. Do that on all of them. So there's SA. SA Public Speaks. This is the specific link to DearSA. This one's the code.z. So, maybe that's, let me try this. DearSA.org. Let me try that. Maybe that's a better link than the other one. Let's see what's going on here because I was on the code.za. Okay, it's taking a little while to get there. So, but it's getting me there now. Okay, DearSA. Oh, here you go. All right, this is the link you want. So copy DearSA. So here's the link for DearSA. So let me get that one up there. You can go there, Rob's organization. And you need your voice to be heard, folks. This is the time. I know a lot of people just blew me off, and not my audience so much, but just didn't go and vote. You need to do it. This is frightening. Now, this is Stop the New Health Act. I'm not familiar with these guys, but they're also trying to stop this. This is the third site in South Africa. This is crazy. This is a power grab by communists. That's what it is. Fascist totalitarians. Yep. So, and here's yet another one. This is CRC Church. I'm not familiar with these guys. Protect the holy ground. Comment and oppose the proposed amendment to the National Health Act. And this is a Christian site. So, all right. And all of these will give you advice and help on what to do and who to contact for these things, folks. So there's another site right there. So feel free to go. Yes, as Rob said, it's till the 15th of April, but let's just get as many responses in the 48 hours so that Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma can't ignore them and can't say, well, we only had 10,000 responses. And so people aren't particularly up in arms about this. Use the next 11 hours. Stay up late tonight and get something in there. 12 hours from now, which is 1:23 in the morning my time, but which will be 7:23 your time in the morning. So less than that. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, I guess. So do it tonight, do it tonight, do it tonight. It's nice to have the calm, Chris, but please, just once a week. We love the one and only. It's okay, Anne-Marie. Don't worry, I'm here. Is Rob trying to compete with his beard? He's losing badly. That's me. Soothing effects of Rob. There you go, Hendo. People don't respond because they don't know. Listening to the car, just can't chat. Hey, Beth. Looks like you're out of the car now or you pulled over. And Nick says, great stream. Expropriation my skinny. I'm waiting for the pump action shotguns. It's me. Ken says, great show. Jan Fillon says, Erica, what happened to her? Erica is fine. Erica is, why? Did something happen that I don't know about? Erica is, she had a court case this week, and she's probably catching her. Hey. Hang on a second. All right, she wrote to me this morning. She's fine. So, I don't know why she's not here. She's probably got things going on. She had a court case resolving from her farm attack 4 years ago, and which drove her off her dairy farm. So, anyway, Sean entered my submission via DearSA earlier this week. Thank you, Sean, for doing that. Does Rob have a narcissist wife? That's why Chris got the slap. You guys are funny. Have the wise owls already decided on the animal that will be represented animal? Is it the elephant? That never forgot. Yeah, well, let's put owls on there and elephants, right? Elephants and owls. It's the wise owls, and so we'll put that up there. And so Kevin's got some food for thought on that. Be careful with the Joker and the Batman thing there, Kevin, because when I play the Fireside with the Colonels, that music, I get a copyright claim from some Brazilian company claiming they own the music, and so I have to delete that after the stream. So I haven't got a copyright strike, but I'm getting copyright claim every time. So you got to be careful. It's bogus because a lot of publicly available music that's in the public domain, people will record it and then claim it's theirs. And since the sound is identical, they get away with that BS. But we just have to be careful. So what else? Shawnee says it's a bunch of nonsense. I'm not sure what that was, but anyway, free walrus now. Yeah, we got over 100 likes. Cool. Hedgehog's Homestead, we'll have to try that out, Chris. I'm not sure what that was. Get Chris on carte blanche. I'd love to go on carte blanche. That'd be cool. And Mr. B's waiting for his tank. Well, you have to talk to... Hey, John Jarvis is here. I'm not clear on mandatory jabs and the proposed laws. Do they... Oh, John, I'm sorry I missed that question. First off, there are no mandatory jabs in South Africa, so it's not a question of stay or go. Would they be introduced is the question you're asking. And that's interesting. Let me go back to the story here and see what it says about jabs. I don't think they're in there. I'd have to look at the gazetted regulations. I haven't looked at them. I'm just reading what the media has brought out. So Kieran Ryan mentions this stuff. So, yeah, I don't see anything on jabs in there. I know that there was someone spread a rumor that there was an intention to make jabs mandatory in these health regulations, John Jarvis, but I don't know if that's the case. Yeah, so, John, I'm sorry I missed your comment. I was deeply engaged with Rob there. Fishes and Loaves is here as well. And then I lost no one, okay, but lost 2 family members from the jail. Oh, sorry to hear that, Mr. B. Yeah, I haven't lost any family members to the Rona either. And also, I haven't had it in 3 years, so. What else? People talking about the Bible. That's interesting. And then people disclosing their jab status. That's interesting. Okay. Check your Telegram. Okay, let me see. Telegram from Kevin. Okay. Hang on a second. Oh, new copyright strike and videos from the audio content. Chris, it's free to use in conditions that they can advertise content. Okay. Okay. Oh, you sent me a new one. Okay, cool. All right, you guys want to see the new video from Kevin? I do. Give me a minute. Let me download it. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of annoying, you know. People say you can use your music. I've done that before too. Like I got a copyright claim on my James Webb Space Telescope music, and it was all public domain music. And then some clown claimed that it was theirs. It wasn't theirs, and so I had to edit it out. Okay. So is it there? Okay. Let me see now. Okay. So this is. Let me see if I can find this downloaded real quick. Okay. Downloads. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Okay. That's the right one. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the new one that Kevin has put together for Fireside with the Colonel. So let me go ahead and bring this up. And you guys give me your thoughts here, okay? Let me get back to the bottom here. Okay. All right. Is Erica here? Oh, there's Erica. Hey, Erica. Did you pop on because I told you people were looking for you? Oh, and Kevin says, sorted out the copyright. So here we go. I like the other one. The other one's great. So let's see if we like this one as much. Okay, so here we go. So, all right, folks. This is the new one from Kevin. Well, there you go, folks. What do you think? I like the original one. This one's cool. I think it'll grow on me. So any thoughts on that, folks? That's from Kevin. So, Kevin, if you put together something for Answer the Question, remember to get some owls, a couple wise owls, and the elephant also, too, in there. Include that. So, yep. Yeah. So yeah, people like it, Kevin. There you go. Cool. You're doing a great job, man. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. It's very kind. Early in the broadcast history of the original channel, Talon Bezuidenhout reached out to me and made me those openings that you see at the beginning and closing my video, and did that, and was very kind of him, just trying to help promote my channel. I really appreciate it. I don't even know if Talon's around anymore. I haven't seen Talon in donkey years, unless he's using a username here that I don't recognize. But he still gets credit. For all of my streams, because I leave that in my information, even if I don't use this stuff. But once again, folks, there'll be more coming up on this. But this is 15-page judgment directing the municipality in Zeerust to seat the candidate from the Forum for Democrats into office. Now, the EFF opposed the motion, and the judge said no. And so the Northwest Division, Mafeking, so High Court of South Africa. Yep. It is declared. The following order is accordingly made. This is the order from the court. Let me just check something out here very quickly here. Yeah, this is the judgment is handed down electronically by circulation to the party's representatives by way of email. The date and time of the judgment is deemed the 12 o'clock hour on the 29th of March, so 2 days ago. This is in the High Court of South Africa in the Northwest Division of Mafeking. And this court decision is in the matter between the Forum for Democrats, the first applicant, and the Freedom Advocacy Network, the second applicant, and the Speaker of the Ramotshere Molula local municipality, Zeerust, the municipal manager of the municipality, the Electoral Commission of South Africa, and the Economic Freedom Fighters. That's the first, second, third, and fourth respondent. The judgment is handed down. The following order is in place at the back of this. A.H. Peterson, Judge of the High Court, Northwest Division, Mafeking. The matter is enrolled as one of urgency, and condemnation is granted for non-compliance with the normal rules of court with regard to service, form, and time periods as contemplated in Rule 6, subsection 12. It is declared that Mr. Tabiso Moratbantwa is an elected councillor of the Ramotshere Molula Local Municipal Council and is deemed, in terms of Section 22, subsection 5 of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act 117 of 1998, to have assumed office on the date of the declaration of the results by the Electoral Commission. The Speaker and or municipal manager of the municipality council is ordered to take all steps necessary forthwith to reallocate one council seat currently held by a representative of the Economic Freedom Fighters to Mr. Tabiso Moratbantwa, the representative of the Forum for Democrats. Each party shall bear its own cost. Congratulations to the Forum for Democrats. It's been a long 5 months. Thank you to Michael Atkins for your effort. Thank you to the Freedom Advocacy Network. Thank you to the law firm that was engaged in this. Thank you to everyone involved. It's very rewarding. Now we have to wait and see if Tabiso gets seated. So just waiting for that. So yeah. Anyway, so I sent a congratulations note earlier and got a response. So hopefully we get something there. Anyway, so that's good news, folks. It shows you that it's not a hopeless struggle. It's not a hopeless fight when an injustice has been done. Stick with it. Erica's judgment was in her favor. And so stick with it when you're right. Stick with it. Doesn't mean you'll always get the right outcome, but you should stick with it, folks. So Erica says, hi to everybody. Thanks for the love and for prayers and support. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I saw Erica's in the house. Smee says, I sat on the board of listening to a 2-hour speech from Vian Tutoy. I was bored crapless, but I was too young and dumb to care at this stage. That's funny. Kevin says, I learned how to check for copyright checks today. Oh, okay, cool. You mean on YouTube before you publish something? That's pretty cool. Yep. But what happens is you get copyright after the fact. So, for instance, Giselle's song, her tribute to Jan Spies, wasn't copyrighted. There was nothing on it. And they sent it to me. I played it. I promoted it for 2 or 3 months. And then suddenly, 4 months later, I got copyright claims because the software was applied and they went back and checked my old streams and said, you violated copyright. No, I didn't. There was no copyright claim on it at the time. There's no copyright to it. You know, people going back and claiming, not Giselle, but the software, people going back and claiming copyright to something that's in the public domain after the fact is unjust. And YouTube is wrong. That's not valid. If you don't have a copyright to something or you haven't established your copyright to something, then claiming it after the fact is not right. I mean, it's in the public domain. People should be allowed to use it. Boiling oxtail for 3 hours. Ugh. I don't eat oxtail. Boy, Africans love that stuff. That is not my sort of thing. Tongue and oxtail. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not my stuff. Anyway, folks, hour and a half into this program, which is usually when we end it, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'll debate a Night Owls tonight. I might do one. Let me think about it. But let me wrap up and thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Take care of yourselves. And thanks to my co-host, Rob, we finally got this back. Next week, we should have Fireside with the Colonels back with that new theme song. Vine Tutoy was unable to come on this week because he's in a remote location. Hopefully, we'll be able to do that next week. And I'll look at the other guys for Kanako. We'll see. But my taxes are due now in 15 days after today. And I made progress on the last couple days, just putting together my receipts to lower my taxable income out of expenses for business, and I'm working on that. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks, everybody. And I appreciate your support. Take care of yourselves and have a lovely day or evening, whichever you find yourself in. And with that, I'm out of here. Cheers, folks. I got to go get some petrol. Let's go sell a kidney to pay for a tank full of petrol. Yikes, 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 yikes. And once again, folks, for those who don't know about it, our condolences to the family of Gareth Mason, who passed away earlier this past week. Walking tall, the G-Man. Rest in peace. The inspirational Gareth Mason, his loss will be felt by many, and it's a shame to see him go, but he had a very difficult year, and our condolences to him and to his family. And with that, folks, I'm out of here. But let me add on a good note. Always this. These are the kids in Nevada when it was announced last month that they were lifting the mask ban.